Hi. So I wanted to get down something that I've been thinking a lot about recently. It's something that actually took me quite a long time to find the words for. Sometimes sort of the most obvious things are also the most subtle. And that is an issue that most people run into when they start something new that has to do with learning or growth or change of some kind. Typically what happens when people start music lessons or dance lessons or a martial art or coaching or become a clear and open member in my world, whatever initiation of some new thing in their life, it creates a kind of pressure, a kind of resistance. And what people find is stuff gets in the way. And that is not only normal, but to be expected, because the individual is trying to change something, and change our bodies are designed, our brains are designed to keep things the same in many, many ways. So we naturally resist change. Our defenses resist it. Long story how and why that works, but just know that we naturally kind of want things to stay the same. There's a desire for equilibrium. But at the same time, there's another part of us that knows that equilibrium can be stagnation, and we hunger for something new, hunger to grow in some way. So typically when we embark on some new thing, again, whether it's coaching or dance lessons or a sport or whatever it is, there's going to be both. There's going to be the desire at sort of opening out to, oh yeah, what would be possible if, and a contraction that's kind of like, usually sounds like I don't have time or something like that. I'm too tired. I don't have the energy. It's too hard. Any of that kind of stuff. It's going to be there. And so here's the point I want to make. Don't be either of those. Be the person who sees both of them. You don't have to be either. Because if you're all open person, you'll be in denial of the subtle resistance and want to push that away and won't notice it. And if you become the resistance, the contraction, well, then nothing's ever going to change, right? Don't be either. Be the person who can see, oh, there's a part of me that wants to grow. Oh, there's a part of me that wants to stay the same. Now let's look. What makes sense here for me? What do I want to do? Because what I see happen all the time, usually how this shows up, is that someone will start something new. They'll start working with me, become a clear and open member, either or both. And then 2 months later, 6 months later, 9 months later, somewhere eventually, that voice comes up that says, you know what? I'm not finding myself so engaged. And I want to say, you're not finding yourself so engaged. Engagement doesn't just happen to you. Well, sometimes it does, but sustained engagement doesn't just happen to you. It's like a fire whose flames you have to fan. It requires tending. And you got to reconnect with why you're doing it and what you want. You can't just go on autopilot and expect it to happen. Just like any new thing, you got to get up off the couch and go do the thing that you committed to do. So there's a content and a context thing here. The content is the new thing you're endeavoring to do. The context is your relationship to it. So if you start the new thing and you're finding yourself not so engaged, then that becomes the work. It's no longer the new martial art. It's no longer the instrument. It's no longer the business coaching. It's no longer that content thing. That's no longer your assignment. Your assignment is to sort out what do you really want and what's getting in the way. Because I don't have time is almost never true. Because for something that really, really matters to you, you find the time, you make the time. And this is the point of this video. If something gets in the way, then your work is to get it out of the way, to get curious about it, to investigate it. If you have a coach or a therapist or whatever, to talk with them about it. I know you gave me this assignment, and guess what? I avoided it for 2 whole weeks. Help me understand what's going on here. Help me understand how to get through it. Rather than, I didn't do the assignment for 2 weeks. I guess I'm not engaged. Bye. That's not commitment. That's not excellence. That's not follow through. And that will not get you to where you want to go. So if something is in the way, then your job is to discover what's in the way. Not look at it as some arising permanent, fixture of your life. Oh, I guess that didn't work. I tried the new exercise routine, but it didn't really stick. And you'll hear all this stock language about it. Didn't really work. Well, what does that mean? Well, it didn't stick. Well, what does that mean? Well, I didn't find myself wanting to do it. What does that mean? You didn't find yourself. Where are you? You're right here. Did you want to do it? What's really getting in the way? Procrastination, fear of discomfort, fear of change, the unknown, physical difficulty. What actually is it? What actually is it? That's the work. And that's by far more important than whatever the content is. And I think about this with guitar practice all the time. That's something that I'm always working to be more assiduous with. There's the content of it, the scales and the chords and the reading of music and whatever, but by far the biggest effort in that is getting myself to practice, reconnecting to why I want to be a great guitarist in the first place, reconnecting to the joy of it, reconnecting to the fact that the work is worth it. That's more work than the content of actually doing it. You see what I mean? But we're not conditioned to think this way, or we're not trained to think that way. Instead, our teachers in school completely tolerated procrastination and late assignments without ever digging into, okay, so this assignment was 5 days late, so you failed the test. What actually happened? Let's discover. Let's sit down for an hour and talk about what happened in the week before the test, or what was your process in writing the paper? What was going on? Rarely does anybody ever ask us that. Nobody was curious about that with us when we were kids. So as adults, we're not curious about it in ourselves. And I'm telling you, this is where change happens. This is the secret, if there is one, to growth. It's about getting curious about your own process and what's going on there. All right, I hope this was helpful. In the meantime, aloha.